Hi there, this is Teresa from Teresa's Crochet Shop, and in this video I'm going to show you how I embroider eyes on my amigurumi. These embroidered eyes are a great alternative to plastic safety eyes, and they look great on both animals made with this plush yarn and also animals made with medium worsted weight yarn. They're really easy to make. Let me show you how I do them. To sew on these embroidered eyes, you will need one strand of black yarn. This is number 4 medium worsted weight 100% acrylic yarn, and also one strand of white yarn and a yarn needle for sewing. So to start off, I'm going to be sewing eyes onto this piece, and to get an idea of where I want my embroidered eye to be positioned, it's really handy if you have a pair of safety eyes on hand that are the size that you want, that are around the size that you want for your animal, because you can place that on your piece and kind of check placement and know exactly where to sew the embroidered eyes. If you don't have safety eyes, that's absolutely okay. I would just say sew a couple of black stitches on either side of the head and check the placement before you go all the way and sew on the whole embroidered eye. That being said, I have sewed on many embroidered eyes, and they're very easy to cut off and start over if you need to make a change. But for this animal, I am going to be positioning my eyes right around here. So now that I know that placement, when I pull out the safety eye, I can still see that mark from where it was, and I'll be sewing the embroidered eye right over top of those 2 stitches on either side of where that hole is from the safety eye. So I have the black yarn on my yarn needle, and I'm going to insert it through the opening at the back of the head and out 1 stitch below where I had my safety eye placed. And as I pull my black yarn, I'm going to make sure to leave a yarn tail hanging out here for tying in a knot later on to secure the strand. And then I'm going to sew a stitch that is 2 stitches tall. That's the first stitch of the embroidered eye. And I'm going to repeat that at least 5 or 6 times until I'm happy with the width of the eye. Okay, I'm going to do 6 stitches on this guy, and on the 6th stitch I'm going to bring my needle out back at the opening, but I will be using that again later on. Now I have my white yarn on my yarn needle. I'm going to insert it through the opening at the back of the head, and again make sure to leave a white yarn tail for securing later on. And then I'm going to sew 1 white stitch at the very back of this black sewn eye that I've made so far. But when I do that, I'm going to bring my yarn needle up in the center of the black eye. So now you can see you have the white stitch at the back, and then with this, I'm going to make a little stitch here and then bring the white yarn out at the opening at the back of the head. Now, I'm finished with the white yarn for this eye. I'm going to thread the black yarn back onto my yarn needle, and I'm going to be sewing the black stitch that goes at the top of the eye at an angle. So I'm going to bring my yarn needle out around here. Nope, that's too straight across. I want it to be at a slight angle so he doesn't look angry. So I'm going to bring it out here, and then insert my needle down here right past where that white stitch is at the front edge of the embroidered eye. And sew 1 black stitch here at the top. And that is how to sew 1 embroidered eye. I'm going to repeat this on the other side now. And when I do that, when I bring my yarn tails through the inside of the head to sew on this eye, one thing to just be sure of is not to pull the yarn tails tight, which will pull the head together, but make sure that there's some slack in there so that it doesn't pucker the head when you sew on the second eye. Now that I've sewn the eyes on both sides, I'm going to secure the yarn with a knot. So I'm going to take the beginning end of the white yarn and the ending yarn end, and I'm going to tie those in a knot in the inside of the head. Tuck that inside the head and do the same with the beginning and ending black yarn tails, and then my embroidered eyes are finished. Now this is how you would sew the eyes on a piece that you're in the middle of working on, so you still have the opening at the back of the head, but now I'm going to show you how you would do that on a piece that is already closed. Okay, so let's say that you have a piece that you want to sew eyes on, but it's already closed. There's no opening at the back. So I'm going to show you how you would do that and still secure your yarn tails. So go ahead and insert your needle the same way, again leaving a yarn tail hanging out, and you will use this to secure your yarn when you're done sewing on the eye. So then go ahead and sew on the eye as usual. Now, when you need to pause on sewing with the black yarn to sew with the white yarn, instead of bringing it out at the opening, you can just bring it out anywhere else in your piece's body, and you'll just bring that out later on. Then with your white yarn, I would insert it into the body in the same place that you inserted the black yarn, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you will bring the beginning and ending yarn tails out at the same spot later on to secure them. Now bring your white yarn out at the exact same spot where your beginning yarn tail is. I'll finish up the eye and then I'll secure those yarn tails. To secure the yarn tails, you will tie the beginning and ending yarn tails in a knot. Then cut them to the same length. Thread those two yarn tails onto your yarn needle and then just weave them inside the body to hide them. And you'll do the same with the white yarn tails. So there you go. Now your embroidered eyes are finished. Thanks for following along, and I hope you enjoy using these embroidered eyes on your own crocheted animals.